This movie is bad. We're gonna get into it. Hello everybody, Sam Tom here. Before I get into it, I'm gonna apologize for a couple things. Number one, the length of this video. I don't know what it is yet. It's probably gonna be really long. Number two, my dogs are making weird noises in the other room. My neighbor's dog is freaking out just outside that window, and there are crickets demolishing my yard out there that just won't shut up. So if you hear lots of weird noises, also I just turned the heat on for the first time, so the air vent is right up here. That might be causing some noise. I apologize, but I'm too angry about this movie to, I don't know, try to optimize my situation for a better video, because that means I have to wait, and the longer I wait, the more I'm going to forget about this movie. It's hard to talk about this without getting into spoilers, so we're definitely going to get there. But before I get there, as best as I can explain my frustration without spoiling anything, I will say that first, I've got videos out from last year on the first Halloween, Halloween 2018, and Halloween Kills. So if you want to see my full thoughts on these three, you can go check those out. I did those with a friend of mine named Madison, and the plan was that this year we were going to come back and do more. And so we have watched Halloween 2, Halloween 4 and 5, and we are probably going to watch Halloween 6 here soon, following the Jamie Lloyd story. So if I will certainly finish that, whether or not she finishes the 6th one with me or not remains to be seen, but whatever form that takes, that is going to be in its own video up on Patreon. So if you want to check out my and or her thoughts on those, that's where that will be. But all of this is to say, I don't really think that the first Halloween movie is as amazing as a lot of people seem to think it is. I was watching Dan Murrell's review on Halloween Ends today, and he said that Halloween is one of his favorite movies of all time. I don't get that. Like, I get that it kickstarted this craze, and I get the history behind it, and I get why it's important, and I get all of it, but like, it's just not a very good movie. And you can watch my video on that movie as to why I think that. But I enjoy this movie significantly more than I enjoyed this movie, right? This movie, I didn't really particularly like when it came out. I did not rewatch this before going into the new one, but I rewatched my video on it to kind of refresh what my thoughts were, and it wasn't overly positive. So this one looks better compared to this one. Then this one came out, and this one actively made me angry because of how stupid it was, and how much it lied to the audience, and how much it did not pay off the things that it was going to pay off. And the kind of general consensus was this was middling filler nonsense so that they can make a trilogy to set up for the movie we're talking about today, Halloween Ends. And people seem to think that it should have just been the two movies, and they put this nonsense filler one. So this one was so bad that it made me like that one more, which made me like that one more. And this new one, I gotta tell you, does not follow this sequence. This new one, in no way, shape, or form, picks up on the threads and the storylines and the continuity that we got in these two films. Yes, technically, it happens after, so it's part of the same series, but the themes and the ideas that these two movies force down our throats, going against everything that this movie had been doing for 40 years, these ones change the direction, tell us that they're leading to this new one, and it's not that. It's not that at all. It's completely different. And this one made me so angry. It makes me like this one more, which makes me like this one more, which makes me like this one. Each new one is so much worse than the one before it that it makes the older ones look great, which I guess is a strategy to retroactively make your products look better, but I'm losing faith that it's ever going to be good again. So, main point number one, this new movie, Halloween Ends, does not continue the threads, the plot lines, the ideas, the themes, the emotion does not continue from these other two ones. So even if you did like these other two ones when I didn't, this new movie is not for you. Main point number 2, after we finished, my friend and I, we rewatched this one yesterday before we went and saw the new one. And I kind of realized, I was like, I'm aware that the new one's coming out, but I don't think I've even seen a trailer yet. And so we watched a couple trailers to like get an idea, and it's like, the trailers don't really show you what the movie's about. They really hype up that this is the final reckoning, and this is the big end, the big conclusion to this whole thing. Main point number 2, those trailers do not advertise what this movie actually is. This movie, 90% of this movie, not in the trailers at all. So, again, even if you liked these two, and even if you think the trailer for the new one looks good, set your expectations low. I'm not going to tell anyone not to go see it. I don't usually think that's an appropriate thing to tell people. But set those expectations low, because it does not live up to the trailer. It does not live up to the trilogy that it's supposed to be capping off. So, those are my non-spoilery thoughts. I think that's about all I can say before I really get into it. So if you don't want to know anything else, good luck to you. May the odds be ever in your favor. If you're sticking around, either because you don't care about spoilers or you've already seen it. So I saw this in the theater. So obviously I couldn't take notes. I don't have Peacock, so I'm not going to rewatch it to take notes there. But I went online and went through the plot summary, went through the characters, and made my own notes based on what got jogged in my memory. So, I guess before I get into those, I know that there have been other films in the past, and I can't think of them off the top of my head. I think Legal Eagle has done some videos on them, but there have been movies in the past where customers have sued for false advertising. And I don't think anybody's ever won, because it's such a hard thing to prove, but like, this movie's got to be up there with some of the most egregious, disrespectful, just lying to your audience about what the movie's going to be. I was actively upset. Like, most of the movie, I was just in shock that I was seeing what I was seeing, because it was so not at all what was leading up to it. So, Corey, we're going to go through some characters, then we're going to kind of go through the plot. So we got Corey, the movie opens up with Corey babysitting, horrible babysitter, whatever. That's kind of par for the course in these movies. They're all horrible babysitters. And he's a horrible babysitter, so I'm not really going to feel that bad for him. And this bizarre scene, which I thought, based on how random it was, I was like, is this scene even going to come into play in the movie at all? Because after this scene, you get the opening credits. So I was like, is that just like a weird, I don't know, 5-minute scene or whatever, just to pad the runtime? That was really weird. Turns out, no. The movie's about that now. Not any of the other previous movies. But the scene ends with Corey is babysitting this child, Jeremy. Jeremy tricks Corey into going into this room of their house. And the door, kind of the structure of the stairway of the house is that it's not a spiral staircase, but like it goes up a little bit and then it comes around, it goes up a little bit, and there are these balconies. So this central gap in the stairway, you can see up all the floors. So Jeremy has shut and locked the door, trapping Corey in. Corey is freaking out more than I think is logical. But this is in a flashback, so this is the night of, or perhaps 1 year after the events of Halloween Kills. I don't remember for sure. I can't remember if it's the same night or if it's the following Halloween. I want to say that it's the following Halloween, but like, people are still actively aware of Michael Myers and looking for Michael Myers, and Laurie is driving around looking for Michael Myers. So it might be the night of. Doesn't really matter. Jeremy, the little child, is taunting Corey about, the boogeyman's going to get you, Michael Myers are going to get you, blah, 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 blah. So Corey is freaking out. He's not in, like, a dungeon. He's in a room. He's freaking out. He starts pounding at the door, starts kicking at the door, and somehow this locked door, he kicks open. So Corey's over here. Jeremy's over here. Kicks the door open. Door hits Jeremy, who then hits the banister of the balcony, falls over backwards, down multiple flights of stairs, lands on the floor, snapping his neck, dying instantly. Oh, by the way, at exactly the moment that his parents come home. His parents come home, they can hear Corey and Jeremy yelling and shouting, and the last thing Corey says, because of course we've got to be this on the nose with it, this heavy-handed with it, is he says, "I'm going to kill you, Jeremy!" And then they see Jeremy's body fall down and die. So of course they're going to think that he murdered Jeremy, right? So not only is the scene forced and heavy-handed and dumb, I don't buy, like, that's a solid door that he's kicking. There are some doors where they give quite a bit, and you can get them to pop out of their frame. I don't buy that that door is one of them. Even if you allow that, though, that kid, how does that child, not an adult, a child, flip over a stairway banister? We don't actually see it happen, because physically it wouldn't happen, right? The banisters come up, you would fall into it, you might, like, if he had busted through it, I could have maybe seen that, but we didn't see any staircase pieces fall down. So they want us to think that he toppled over the top of it like this, but kids aren't that tall. This kid isn't that tall. He would have just banged and stopped. But because we cut and we don't have to show it, so the physics don't have to make sense, he flies over. So the whole catalyst for this entire movie and this entire new direction that leaves all of this stuff behind doesn't make any sense. So that's Corey. There's still paranoia in the town. Like I said, I don't know if it's the same night or the year after, but there's still paranoia in the town about Michael Myers. And somehow, that means that everyone in the town is quick to blame and hate other people. There's a line at one point in the movie where Corey's aunt, according to Wikipedia, it's his aunt, not his mom. I don't know if they say that in the movie. But there's a line where Laurie has come to her house. And so she's arguing with Laurie. And she says something along the lines of, "You let your boogeyman get away, and so they put all their hatred on my boy," right? They put all their hatred on Corey since Michael wasn't there. How does that make sense? If Michael is still at large, and people know the stuff that he's done, you would think that the way the town spins that is that you hear about this kid falling off the stairs, and even if you say that it was this Corey guy, you would think that people would be like, "Oh no, I bet it was Michael Myers," right? Like, that's how people talk. That's how urban legends spread. If there's fear and hysteria and paranoia about one particular person, anything bad that happens, related to him or not, is going to assume to be him, right? It's going to be assumed to be him. So the fact that he's still at large and therefore more dangerous somehow leads to people focusing more of their hate on Corey, who was released because it was shown and proven that he didn't murder the kid, right? That, again, makes no logical sense at all. That's not how people act. So then we got Allison, who's working as a nurse or assistant or something in some kind of medical clinic. She's taking all sorts of abuse from the doctor. Not like abuse, but like being treated poorly. And Corey's like, "You should stand up for yourself more often." And she's like, "Oh, I've dealt with worse. Plus, I'm trying to get a promotion, blah, 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 blah." I'm just like, if you're Allison, and you've had the childhood and the upbringing that you had, from your grandmother being the survivor of Michael, your mother being raised basically as an assassin, right? And then you live through this year where your boyfriend has died, your friends have died, your mother has died. I feel like you're going to stop taking crap from people, right? Does it make sense that she's now, like, meeker and weaker and more of a doormat than before? That doesn't track with me. I would think she would stop giving a crap about what other people think, stand up for herself, and be stronger. So that doesn't track either. Oh, gosh. Where's my... one moment, please. Then we got Laurie. And Laurie is completely different. Completely different from how she was in these two movies. Which, she's in the movie more than Halloween Kills. And she's not in a hospital bed the whole time. But she's still not in it very much. And neither is, spoiler alert, who haven't I mentioned yet? Neither is Michael Myers. But we'll get there. But, you know, we see in this one that Laurie has spent her entire life, 40 years training herself, training her daughter, trying to protect her granddaughter. And, like, yeah, everyone, like, thinks she's crazy for it. But then, she's right. She turns out being proved correct for doing that because the thing she feared happening happened. And, like, yeah, her trap didn't work. Well, her trap did work, but then the firefighters came and got him out. But it would have worked, presumably, if they hadn't been there. And so, after her being vindicated and proven right, she just stops completely. And she's, oh, I've let go of Michael, and I'm not living in fear anymore, and I'm just living in a normal house with my granddaughter, and we're moving on. And it's like, he's still out there. I'm going to say this a lot in this video. It doesn't make any sense. If you spend 40 years preparing for something, that thing happens and then is unresolved and continues to be a threat, you're not going to completely forget it in 4 years. Again, that's not how people are. Oh my gosh. And again, now, somehow, for some reason, the town has turned on Laurie, and the entire town of Haddonfield hates Laurie. They assault her at the grocery store. They make comments to her whenever they see her. They view her as this crazy person because she let Michael get away. I'm like, she's the only one, A, that told all of you that he was coming back, and none of you listened, and then B, she caught him, and then other people let him go. She is the one person that no one should be angry with, and everyone should be listening to. But no! This movie makes no freaking sense, so everyone hates her. Then we get these bullies. And, like, bullies in movies are always stupid. But this is just one of those groups of friends that would never happen in real life. Because none of them actually like each other. Which, not that people can't be friends with people they don't like in real life. That happens. But, like, there's 3 or 4 pivotal scenes with these bullies. First scene, gas station. They try to get Corey, by happenstance, to buy alcohol for them because they're underage. Which, like, I don't know how often that happens. I've been asked once by people to buy them alcohol. And, like, obviously I said no. And it never happened again. And I don't know if it's just because I live in the town that I taught at. So everyone knows I'm not going to do that. That was pretty early on after I moved in. So I don't know how common that is. But, like, it felt a little... There's just, like, they're in broad daylight. They're right outside the door of this store. It's not like they're behind the corner or it's dark and they're trying to be slick. It's, like, totally out in the open. And, like, you know, Haddonfield's not a real place. But, like, here where I live, in Illinois, which is where Haddonfield is, like, you can't buy alcohol at places unless every person that you're with has their ID. At least, I don't drink alcohol, so I don't buy alcohol. But the few times that I've been with people that have bought alcohol, that has been the case. So maybe I just have a very small sample size, and that's not true, but it's a forced setup, but maybe it's more realistic than my life experience would show. But he tells them no, and then they recognize him as this kid killer or whatever, and they start bullying him about it. And the whole logic of their bullying does not hold up, which, you know, yeah, are bullies logical? No, but like, they're bullying him, giving a hard time, making fun of him for supposedly being this murderer, right? But it's one of those things where it's like, if they really believed he was a murderer, they would not be pushing him, right? Because they should be concerned that he might do something to them, right? So it's like, it's more making fun and like trying to push his buttons. But like, if you're Corey, just point that out and be like, oh yeah, you're saying all this crap, but if you really believe that, then you should be scared of me, right? And then like, yeah, they're probably not going to stop bullying you, but at least you point out that they're idiots. So I don't like the bullies at all, but they're movie bullies. What are you going to do, right? So we get that first scene. They rough him up. He cuts his hand by crushing a chocolate milk glass bottle. Again, very forced because most chocolate milk isn't sold in glass bottles, and I've never known anyone to break one of those by just squeezing, but I guess it's possible, maybe. I don't know. I don't know the instructional integrity, but it's just like all these forced things, you know, that they're you know, and I know, like, it's a movie, you have to write a story, but like, things should feel natural and realistic, and like there's a possibility of it happening, right? This is just like really trying to shove all these pieces into place. So Laurie comes up, she kind of spooks them away. I think they like go into the place. It's unclear why, right? Because there's four of them. They should hate her as much as they hate this guy. And it's not like this old lady poses more of a physical threat than this man in his early 20s. So I don't know why they suddenly decided to leave them alone. Maybe they are actually scared of Laurie. I don't know. They don't explain it. But Laurie then tells Corey, hey, you should slash their tires. That'll help things, right? Horrible, horrible. But then Laurie takes Corey to the clinic where Addison works to get his hand fixed up. So that's first encounter with the bullies. Second encounter with the bullies. Corey's walking home after a Halloween party. And they just happen to like drive up upon him on this bridge. And there's a struggle. Multiple knives are out, both from them and Corey. And this is where it's like these friends would not actually hang out like this. Because there's two guys and two girls. And the two guys are more physically assertive and violent and pulling the knives and making threats. And the two girls are like, what are you doing? Let's go. Just leave him alone. Blah, 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 right? And then the main bully freaking throws Corey off a bridge. We actually see how he gets up and over this time because he's thrown, not kicked by a door. And he falls to the ground below, and they assume that he's dead, right? But of course they don't go do anything about it because they're horrible people. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, what'd you do? What'd you do? And he's like, he fell. Got it? That's my story. And it's like, if you're really this tough guy, just own the fact to your friends that you murdered this guy that you've been threatening multiple times. Like, I can see why to a cop he would say he fell. But, like, you're with your friends who have seen you multiple times attack this guy and threaten him with violence. So, like, why are you now backing out of that? That didn't make any sense. And all the friends are like, that's not what happened. And then they come back in other scenes later, and they're, like, still all hanging out. And I'm like, again, I get that you hang out with people that you don't really like sometimes, but, like, if you think that your friend is a murderer, and you are clearly distressed by that, are you really going to just keep hanging out with them? Like, and then, like, in the next scene, they seem like they're all on the same page again. There's another scene at the gas station again, where Corey, like, keys in their car and then drives away on his motorcycle. And then they go, maybe that's what leads into the junkyard scene. So he works at this like junkyard, scrapyard, Corey does thing. And I think they follow him from the gas station to this scrapyard. And again, they're like definitely planning on killing him. Like, maybe it's just that obvious because it's in this movie, but like clearly they're intending for some stuff to go down. And now the girls just seem totally on board with it, not hesitant, not trying to, talk them out of it. They're just on board. Maybe I'm misremembering, but that's how I remember it. And Corey just like takes them all out. And I don't feel bad for them because they're horrible people, even though Corey's not the good guy, so I shouldn't be rooting for him. There's no good guy in this movie. Everybody's horrible. So, bullies, stupid. Let's move on from the bullies. Finally, 25 minutes into this video, it's about how long it took us to get to him in the actual movie, Michael Myers. I was checking my phone half an hour before he actually shows up and 40 minutes before we actually see him kill anybody. And then he's like still dormant for a long time. So Michael Myers is in the sewers. He's been there for 4 years. Why is he in the sewers? It's never explained. What's he doing down there? It's never explained. We are told, oh gosh, it's the streams of anger in my brain are all firing at once, so I apologize that I'm going so all over the place. But we are told, smacked in the face, hit over the head, we are told in this movie that Michael does not care about Laurie, right? Never has. Everything that Laurie prepared for was overkill. All he cares about, we are told, is being home at his house, the Myers house, and then specifically while there, looking out the window, which is really in towards his own reflection. None of that is at play at all in this movie. We are told in this movie that the Myers house has been demolished. But like, he can still go to the site, right? He can still be there. And even if it is demolished, he could try and rebuild it. He could try to build something that looks like it. He could do anything to try and recreate that house, because he's never been satisfied with having a different home before. So why would he be satisfied in the sewers now? Is he right under the spot where the house was? They don't ever say that. They could have. That would have been something. And then even when he's in the sewers, it's like, okay, fine. Maybe he can't have any kind of home. But this whole idea of looking inward at himself, not present in this movie, doesn't come back. It does not follow these movies at all. So why is he in the sewers? Screw you, that's why. And then, so this is, I'm backtracking now. I'm not going in order of the movie. Second encounter with the bullies, they throw Corey off the bridge, and Corey is found and dragged away by Michael Myers. Why is he now outside of the sewers? If he's been in the sewers for 4 years, presumably he hasn't come out because he hasn't killed anyone in that time. So why does he suddenly happen to be out when Corey falls? Does he hear him fall? I don't think he's that close to the tunnel there, because the tunnel's like deep back underneath, I think, a different... It's very strange. Why is he in the sewers? Don't worry about it. Doesn't matter. Why is he now suddenly outside of the sewers? Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. So he drags Corey into his little Pennywise realm in the sewers, right? For some reason, doesn't kill him. Maybe he thinks he's already dead, but I feel like Michael Myers would have a pretty good idea of what a dead person looks and feels and sounds like. So he doesn't kill him. Corey wakes up, and after Corey wakes up, Michael attacks him, seemingly intent on killing him, and then just decides, nah, I'm not gonna kill him. Now, when you get to the end of the movie, maybe, I'm sure somebody's going to try to make the excuse of, oh, he saw something in his eyes. He saw the evil that was there. Bull crap! Because this experience with Michael is what makes Corey snap and what puts that evil there. why does Michael not kill him? Also, it's not like Michael hasn't killed other evil people in the past. So why is this kid an exception? Nothing about Michael Myers in this movie makes sense. Why he's in the sewers, why he's out of the sewers, why he doesn't kill him when he first finds him, why he lets him wake up and then attacks him again, and then why he doesn't kill him a second time. It's so stupid! Then we get to the dumb part. The dumbest, the whole... This is when I started being shocked. I'm like, are we really doing this? Because Corey becomes the new main killer of Haddonfield. I'm like, I'm not going with my notes here. There's a hermit. We've seen hermits in Halloween movies before, who's like weirdly outside of where Michael Myers is. This is like another... If Michael has been sporadically coming out of the sewers, is he like trying to gain strength? Is he trying to kill things to gain strength? Because it kind of seems like that later, because Corey like brings him victims to kill. But it's not... It's never explained, so we don't really know. But if he is habitually coming in and out of these sewers, and that hermit lives down there, they've got to have crossed paths before, right? So is the hermit aware that Michael Myers is down there? You would think if so, he would go somewhere else. And like, you would also think if so, Michael would have killed him by now. So, like, they can't, right? They can't know about each other, which then does not track with the idea that maybe Michael is coming out and hunting. So dumb. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. Should I move on in the plot, or should I complain about Corey being a new killer? Let's complain about Corey being a new killer. I can see, absent any and all context, that the thought, that the idea of moving your focus to a new, younger killer this late into a franchise, right? This far after the original. I can see how that might be an idea worth exploring. What makes it so frustrating and frankly insulting is that this has happened before, not only in the Halloween franchises, but in the other main huge horror slasher franchises that are always associated with Halloween. So Halloween itself, you've got Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, when they planned on making multiple anthology Halloween movies every so many years, but focusing on a different story. And it did so poorly, and people were so upset about it, that literally the next movie is called The Return of Michael Myers, because they're like, our bad. Sorry, you guys didn't like that. We're bringing Michael back. So they've already tried this, and it failed. And so they had to restart with Michael Myers. But not only have they already done this, Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning. Right after, I think Part 4 was called The Final Friday, right? So Part 5, it's a new killer, right? New beginning, new character, new killer. Guess what? People didn't like it. So guess what? The very next movie, Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives. They're telling you in the title, wow, sorry about that. You guys didn't like that. Here's Jason again. Nightmare on Elm Street. We've got, I don't even remember how many, 5 or 6 or so in the main storyline. Then we get Wes Craven's New Nightmare. And it's like, Freddy's in the real world now. And we're not in the story we were. We're not with the characters that we were. It's still Freddy Krueger and it's still Robert Englund, but it's a different character in a different setting. And guess what? People didn't like it. The next movie was the crossover Freddy vs. Jason. And the next one was the reboot where they went back to the drawing board, and there have been no Friday the 13th movies since that, which was 12 years ago. After they tried doing something new in 1994. So the Halloween series has tried this before and failed. The Friday the 13th series has tried this before and failed. Then the Nightmare on Elm Street has tried this before and failed. And I'm sure other horror franchises have too. Scream seems to be the only one that's like kind of going around it. they've had less popular films in their franchise. 3 and 4 weren't super well received, but like their killers are always different people. It's just always kind of tied to the same people in some way, and that's like the fun mystery of trying to figure it out. So like it works for Scream because it's never supposed to have been the same person. So of course they're going to deviate and do something else. That's part of that because Scream is meta and it gets it. It understands the genre. Doesn't always execute perfectly, but like how... This is why I say it's insulting that they did this because it's been done before and it's never worked. Is there any main horror franchise, slasher franchise that focuses on one main killer for decades and then changes it to someone new with no warning, going against everything that the previous movies built up towards, and it was well received? Has that ever happened? If you know an example, let me know. Because I can't think of any. Why would they think this was a good idea? It's not even an original idea because it's been done before. Ah! So, Corey has been in the lair of Michael Myers, survived inexplicably, not been killed, been allowed to leave, and now he's killed this hermit. So now he is the killer, right? And at the Halloween party that he went to, okay, I skipped over Allison because this made me so upset. I'm gonna try to explain myself clearly. Obviously, movies are movies. They're not real life. Things that happen in movies have to happen at a faster speed. But the speed in which Allison is so thirsty and gung-ho for Corey, I could not get behind, right? And like, at the beginning of the movie, during the flashback, which I think was 3 years prior, and then later in the movie, after he's transformed into this evil thing, he's like an attractive-looking guy. I don't know the barometer for that, really. There are some guys that I assume people would find attractive, and they're like, no. And then there are other guys that I assume people wouldn't find attractive, and they're like, oh my gosh, he's so hot. So like, I'm not the guy to ask that. But in my eyes, for what it's worth, he's a cute guy at the beginning, and he kind of gets that bad boy look going towards the end. But in the middle, when he meets Allison, he's grubby and greasy and gross and nasty and just like physically unappealing. And then also he's like sketchy because he's got these glass bits in his hand, which makes no sense. He says it's because of an accident at the shop, but like, you wear gloves when you're working in a mechanic shop. You're not... So he's sketchy, he's gross, and I don't think at that point in the movie he's attractive, but she's just like, boom, falls for him right away, is super intense, is super forward, and it's like, she's just getting over this relationship with this cop who, like, keeps pulling her over and stuff because he wants to keep seeing her. So it's like, I don't know. People are different. Maybe she's just trying to get with someone new. I would think that after a really bad relationship, you wouldn't want to rush into a new relationship with a really sketchy guy that you don't know hardly anything about. So he cuts his hand at the gas station. Laurie brings him to Allison at the clinic. Allison fixes him up, and she's basically like, "Hey, want a date? You want to go out on a date?" And he's like, he's really shy, and he is not used to people treating him like a person, so he's super awkward about it. But like, there it is. It's planted. Boom! Right away, we're going in on this. And it's just, I can't accept it. I just don't believe it on any level. But they're at a Halloween party together, and I thought at one point, I was like, maybe she just wants a date to this Halloween party, right? Because she talks about how she doesn't want to go alone, so she's not going to go, but it seems like she kind of wants to go, so it's like, maybe it's just a date for that, but then, like, things keep happening afterwards, so it's not that. So they go to this party, they have a fight, he gets a clown mask at the party. That's kind of, it'll come back later. They have a fight. He basically tells her this isn't going to work, blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, I don't know. The thing that the movie is trying to say is that because they're both seen by the town, not as who they are, but as what they've been a part of. And it's like, well, we're the only two people that can understand each other, right? So we got to be together because no one else. But I'm like, if you're Allison and your life has been defined by this thing and you're trying to move on and you're trying to leave that behind, this seems like a real backward step, doesn't it? Yeah. So, he leaves the party, gets thrown off the bridge. Michael Myers encounter. Corey's moving on. Now, at some point in all of this, Allison did not get the promotion. The promotion went to a co-worker of hers, and then we see that the co-worker is fooling around with the doctor, right? And that's why she got the promotion. So we get to the doctor's house, and they're about to partake in some activities. And he goes out into this, like, courtyard with a pool in it. Sure. Okay. While she stays inside. And as she's out there, Corey is out there. So Corey presumably has learned that Allison didn't get the promotion and is going to kill this guy as punishment. That's not going to help Allison, bro. She can't get a promotion if her boss is dead. But he goes to kill this guy, presumably as punishment, right? And the other nurse, assistant, woman, whatever her name, I don't know her name, whatever her position was, she sees this stuff is happening. And I believe that Corey is pretty much dressed as Michael Myers. I think he's got like the kind of the mechanic suit on, but he's got the clown mask on. So she sees what's happening and goes and locks Corey out. He tries to get in after her, gets his arm stuck. She pushes him out. He gets locked out in this courtyard, right? And you're like, okay, how's he going to get in? Turns out Michael Myers is there, and they're doing like buddy murders together. Why is he outside of the sewers? Why now? After 4 years, does he come out to do a killing spree? Is it because he got a buddy? Why is he friends with this guy? How are they communicating? Is Michael like, all right, so here's the game plan. I'm going to hide in the closet inside, and you're going to hide by the pool outside. And then no matter what happens, we got this, man. How does any of that work? It's so stupid. Oh. So, Corey kills the doctor. Michael kills the nurse. Presumably, Michael lets Corey in, and they fist bump and hug and play Mario Kart or something. I don't know, because they're best friends now. So then, Corey and Allison are talking about leaving Haddonfield. Now, again, I'm jumping all over the place here, so I don't know where this is at in terms of Corey's storyline. But Allison has not gotten the promotion, so like she's feeling bad. The cop keeps harassing her, pulling her over to harass her, harassing her in the diner. She's not having a good time. So I don't even remember who brings it up first, but they're talking about leaving Haddonfield and going somewhere else. Which also, by the way, Officer Hawkins, Will Paxton? I don't know. The coach from Remember the Titans that's not, oh my gosh. That's not Denzel Washington. Let's see. Can I do this? Hayden Panettiere's dad. The cop, the cop that got stabbed by the therapist but then didn't die and was in the hospital bed next to Laurie. He and Laurie are still kind of doing weird, cringe, old people flirting, which like, old people can flirt, that's fine. It's just, he's really bad at it, so it's cringe to watch. And he's like asking Laurie to go to Japan. So we got them talking about leaving, and then Corey and Allison are talking about leaving. And again, Allison has known this guy for like a week, maybe? And in that week, she's had to patch him up multiple times because he keeps getting into super violent encounters. And they've already fought and like broken up and gotten back together. And yet she's like, yeah, I kind of want to leave with you. Let's go. Like, she's so, I don't want to say stupid, because sometimes people get caught up in the heat of the moment, but she's so different than how she was in the other movies. And again, just so much less of a person and more of a tag-along. It's weird. So they're planning on leaving town together. At some point, Corey goes and murders a radio DJ that made fun of him because he's very, very petty. Where am I at here? So, Corey gets kicked out of his house because he's been out with that girl. It's very, very hillbilly parenting going on there. Not that anyone who doesn't want their son out with women is a hillbilly, but it's also hillbilly parenting. So he's sleeping in the now abandoned house that he accidentally killed Jeremy in. And again, it's like so forced and so like, do you get it? Do you get that he's evil now? That of this whole entire mansion that he has free reign to, he chooses to sleep on the spot that Jeremy's body fell on. Bloodstain still there. At this point, Laurie's been basically stalking him. And she knows that something's up. So she follows him to the house. She kind of wakes him up and she's like, look, man, I don't know what's going on. I'll help you. But you ain't leaving with my granddaughter. And he doesn't take that very well. If you can believe it. I feel like I've jumped. Oh, just a couple more notes while I'm on Laurie. Sandra, who was the woman in Halloween Kills Flying the Drone, where her and her husband got murdered. She's back. Apparently she didn't die. She's back for no reason. She doesn't speak. She's in a wheelchair. Her sister is one of the people that assaults Laurie. And so it's like, she's there. But like, you could have easily just said, my sister died because of, like, it doesn't add any more that she's there. It's just weird. It's like, why bring her back if she's not going to do anything? And Lindsay, who was in the last one, that survived, like, the playground attack where Michael Myers killed the nurse that was dressed as a doctor and the doctor that was dressed as a nurse and the actual nurse from the original movie. And Lindsay is like the little girl from the original movie. She was the only one that survived that encounter at the playground. She's back in this for like one scene as a bartender. Again, doesn't do anything. I don't think bringing people back just because they've been in old movies is a great reason to do that. But I wanted to mention that because apparently the movie thinks it's important. Oh, so things are going down now. I gotta start like crossing off my notes so I know what's left. So we talked about how it's not a sequel. Talked about how it doesn't match the trailer. Talked about false advertising. Talked about Corey killing the kid. We talked about the Michael paranoia and how that doesn't make sense. Talked about how Allison is... I wrote spineless. I don't know if I said spineless in the video, but that's what I wrote because that's kind of how she feels. Talked about how it's weird with Corey. They got together too fast. They broke up. When they broke up, which wasn't really a breakup, they just had a fight. He like comes back to her to apologize, and she's like super, super, super upset. Which like, yeah, you're gonna be upset if a guy you like is broken up. Like she acts as though they've been together for a really long time, and then they broke up, and he's trying to like get back together. And that's not what happens. Or it just reads really weird. And then Too Fast again, wanting to leave. One more note on Allison I'm going to come back to. We talked about how Laurie's totally different. She's in the movie more than the last one, but not as much. The town hates her for no reason. And we get Sandra and Lindsay back with her. We talked about Officer Hawkins. We talked about the bullies. Michael, why is he in the sewers? Why does he leave the sewers? Why does he attack and then leave and then attack and then leave? Corey, we talked about the hermit. We talked about the doctor and the nurse. We talked about the killer team up. We talked about leaving Haddonfield. We talked about him sleeping in Jeremy's house. Laurie is stalking him. Okay. So, I want to make one more note on Allison before I move on. We also talked about Nightmare on Elm Street and Scream and Friday the 13th. So, Allison and Corey, as they're talking about leaving, as they're talking about blah, 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 this phrase keeps coming up where Allison says, I'm going to burn it all to the ground. I want to burn it all to the ground. And this is, again, very forced phrase that has a very obvious and well understood metaphorical meaning. but also could be taken quite literally. And it seems like she is speaking metaphorically, and Corey is like encouraging her. He's like, "I'll light the match." And it seems like he's taking it very literally. Like, yeah, let's go murder people together. It's like, there's a point in this movie where I didn't think this is where it was going, but I've seen other reviewers say that they did, so it would be understandable. There's a point where you might think that they're both going to become the new Michael Myers and kill each other together, which having her involved would make more sense to me because of what she's been through, specifically with Michael Myers, and like it's kind of been done with Jamie Lloyd. I mean, they took it out right away, right? But like at the end of Halloween 4, spoiler alert for these really old movies, Jamie, you think she kills her mom, but then by 5, it's like, oh no, she just injured her, she didn't die, and by 5, they break that link. But it's like, that's something that's been explored before. It would be interesting to explore it again in a different way, but that's not at all where it's going. So, let me know if you picked up on that, because I did not. I don't know. So at some point here, Corey goes back to the sewers with Michael. Why is Michael back in the sewers? I don't know. He's been out killing people. Why does he go back to the sewers? But he does. So Corey goes back to Michael specifically to fight Michael, specifically to get the mask. Because it's not enough now for Corey to be a killer. You know, he can't be his own person. He wants to become Michael Myers. He wants to be the new Michael Myers. So they fight and they struggle, and some freaking hell, Corey wins. Again, this could have been something that, like, it wouldn't have been good, but they could have explained it as, like, Michael has been weak and trying to gain strength over the years. And, like, I forget, at one point, Corey brings the cop, Allison's ex-boyfriend, to Michael for him to kill. And so, like, it almost kind of seemed like Michael had to kill to regain strength before he could leave again. But, like, that's not really how it plays out. So I don't know what that's all about. But somehow, even though we've seen Michael do superhumanly strong things, like pushing people's eyes in their sockets and, you know, I don't know, maybe that doesn't require as much strength as I think. But, like, he is clearly shown to be extremely strong. He's catching, you know, bats and planks of wood and whatever else and just plowing through people. He plowed through all those firemen, right? Like, he's clearly very strong. Maybe not superhumanly strong, but very strong. And Corey is just a guy. Not a guy that works out, not a guy that, like, he's just a guy. Somehow he, despite all that Michael has endured, despite fighting off dozens of people at a time and walking away from it, Corey somehow defeats him single-handedly. Of course, we don't actually see what happens because it's in the dark sewer. But Corey defeats him, takes the mask, runs off, and then we see Michael get up because obviously he's not dead. But, like, how did Corey even kind of beat him for a little bit? I mean, I don't know. I guess you could say that Laurie's beaten him before, but usually that's by outsmarting him. And there was no outsmarting in this fight. It was just a physical fight. So, Corey now comes to Laurie and Allison's house with the Michael Myers mask. We don't see him get there. We see Laurie, who calls the police. Did I write this down? I did. She calls the police saying it's to report a suicide. Couple things here. First of all, they treat suicide very loosely in this. And I just learned recently that there's a new suicide hotline, I guess, number, 988. Much easier to remember than the previous hotline number, which the previous hotline number apparently still works. So if you know that and you have that and you need to use that, you can. But 988, if you have any mental health, suicidal concerns and you need to talk to someone, that's what it is. But she just calls the police. She says, I want to report a suicide. And, like, the police, they don't ask any follow-up questions. And, like, Laurie presumably hangs up, but, like, it's not like she hangs up right away. There's just dead space for a while. And I'm like, what are you doing that you're not asking any follow-up questions? You're not asking, like, are you planning to, you know, do something? Like, there's no trying to stop, no trying to get any information, just nothing. And then I meant to time it and I forgot, but it's a long time in screen time before any cops show up. Like, I would not be surprised if it was like 10 minutes of movie time, which would have been longer in real time. It takes forever for the cops to get there. But so she is called in to report the suicide, and we see her aim this gun at herself, and all I can think of during this point is that all of the trailers that I saw had footage that has not happened yet, other than a couple quick shots of Corey's face and Corey getting choked by Michaels. The meat and potatoes of every trailer that I watched have not yet happened. It's of Laurie and Michael fighting. It was billed as the reckoning between Laurie and Michael. Again, they've gone so back and forth because here they say that Michael has never cared about Laurie. He only ever cared about home. And now in this one, he doesn't care about home at all. But in the marketing, it's like, oh, this is the showdown between Michael and Laurie. And it's like, why is there a showdown if he doesn't care about her? But that's all the trailers were. So they're making it seem like we're supposed to believe that she's going to shoot herself. And I can't buy that even for 1 second. Because nothing from the trailer has been in the movie yet. So, you know, she looks like she's thinking about doing it. Obviously doesn't. And shoots like a pump. Oh my gosh, I forgot to write down the microwave. Oh, we're going to come back to the microwave. She shoots like a pumpkin or something. Because we see some kind of guts shoot across the room. And then Corey, dressed as Michael, in the Michael mask, this is the shot from the trailer. He opens the door to this room, and she's standing there with the gun pointing at him. And she says some really forced bad line, like, did you really think I would make it that easy? Or, you know, something stupid and dumb and cliche like that I can't remember, because it's meaningless. And I can't remember, maybe it was unclear in the movie, maybe it was clear and I just can't remember, if she thinks it's Michael or Corey. But, like, at this point, that no one, I don't think anyone is aware that Michael Myers is back. But again, I could be misremembering. So they fight. She gets the upper hand. She takes the mask off. It's Corey. I can't remember if she's surprised that it's Corey or not. But he's there in the full, like, I don't know if he was in the full, what do you call it? Like the mechanics jumpsuit, whatever. I don't remember if he was wearing the whole getup at the doctor's house, but, like, by this point, he's dressed as Michael Myers. He's wearing the whole getup. He's got the mask. She takes off the mask and, like, leaves it on the floor, or maybe I don't know. The mask comes off. It's on the floor next to him. He's got, you know, the classic Michael Myers knife. He is very much 100% trying to emulate Michael Myers' energy. She has shot him a couple times at this point. I think twice, maybe 3 times. She has a couple rounds left. She fires them into the wall for some reason and throws the gun away. And, like, again, I can't remember, because by this point, I just could not care about this movie anymore. I can't remember if she, like, was trying to antagonize him into a fight, or if she was still trying to plead with him to let her help him. But either way, why are you getting rid of those bullets? Like, at least, even if you're not planning on using them, don't get rid of them, because then you can't use them if you need to. So, something goes down between them, and then there, as he's still on the floor, of course, because everything in this movie is forced, this is exactly as Allison is now coming home. Allison, who is planning on leaving with Corey, and Allison, who at this point has gotten into a fight with Laurie. Did I say leaving with Laurie? Leaving with Corey, has gotten into a fight with Laurie. Those names are too similar. So she's gotten into a fight with Laurie because Laurie's asked her not to go and, you know, think about this. And Allison is upset. And she's like, you haven't changed at all. Blah, blah. And I'm like, she's changed so freaking much. But also, this is a note that I wrote down. Allison is not listening to Laurie. And I'm like, you know that Laurie was right. You know that Laurie has always been right. And if more people had listened to Laurie before, maybe your mom and your dad and your boyfriend and your friends would still be alive. Why are you not listening to her? Even if you don't want to believe her 100%, like, hear her out. But no, because Allison is stupid in this movie. So, Allison, right before she walks in the door, Corey had told Laurie earlier at Jeremy's house, if I can't have her, no one can, implying that he's going to kill Allison if he doesn't get to leave with her. And then at this scene, he goes, well, if I can't have her, and he stabs himself in the throat, apparently to frame Laurie for his murder, which, like, is a pretty big jump, if you ask me, that alone would make Allison think that Laurie killed him. Except that this movie's stupid, and everything is forced, so right after that, Laurie goes up, pulls out the knife, and is there sitting over his body with the bloody knife as Allison walks through the door, because movies are stupid. So then, of course, Allison thinks that Laurie has killed Corey, and Laurie says nothing. She seems extremely upset, which is weird, because she knows at this point that this person, that Corey, is not Corey anymore. She talked to Jeremy's dad, who told her this story about how this isn't the same kid anymore. She knows that this is now the evil of Michael Myers is now in this person. Why is she upset that he's dead? Like, I get that she can be upset on behalf of Allison. She can be, like, kind of sad for Allison, but that doesn't track with what she's showing on screen there. And so she's there, and she's sobbing, and she's gasping, and she says nothing while Allison is in there. And I'm like, even if you can't get your full point across, you can be like, look at what he's wearing. He brought the mask. He wore this mask and that suit into our house trying to kill me. Like, say something. But no, she says nothing. So Allison leaves. And then, somehow, Michael Myers knew where Corey went. And so Michael Myers shows up and gets his mask back, right? And, like, again, I can't remember. I don't think Laurie is in that room anymore when Michael gets there. So I don't think he sees her. So if, as this freaking movie shoved down our throats, if he doesn't care about her, he went there to get his mask, right? He clearly doesn't care about Corey anymore because Corey just kicked his butt somehow and stole his mask. He should leave, right? That's what any logical through line would say. But no, he starts hunting Laurie in her whole house. And now, finally, an hour and 20 minutes into this movie, we get the trailer scene. How does Corey overpower Michael? Laurie and Allison, stupid fight. How did Michael know where to go to get his mask back from Corey? I'm just crossing out notes. Let's talk about the microwave for a little bit. So at one point, earlier in the film, Allison starts beating on this microwave. We don't know what it is or isn't doing. She's just smashing the microwave, right? And Laurie's like, hey, don't do that. And Allison's like, aren't I allowed to be upset? And Laurie's like, yeah, you are, but, like, you're going to hurt yourself. And there's this very, very quick shot where it looks like they've put some kind of food in the microwave, and as it's cooking, it, like, explodes against the door of the microwave. Right? So it seems like it's not working properly. Now in this scene, where Michael is, for some freaking reason, hunting Laurie Strode around her own house, she's hiding in a closet. He's about to go open the closet, and their microwave, which we didn't see any characters put food into, so presumably it's just sitting there, not even on or running. It looks like food inside of it explodes again. And that distracts Michael. And Laurie comes out and attacks him and ends up pinning him down on the counter and shoving the fridge on top of him, and they kill him. And it's just like this hugely, hugely important turn, this distraction. And it's this hard to, maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's not the microwave, but it's hard to tell what it is. And as best as I could tell, it's some kind of food randomly exploding in the microwave. What? So Laurie pins Michael down. She's got, like, the fridge on top of him. She's got a knife in one hand that she, like, hammers in with a skillet, which, like, that part was pretty cool. Some of this stuff in the last 20 minutes is actually pretty cool. It just took us way too long to get there. And then she takes his mask off. She, like, slices his neck. But, of course, he's still not dead because he's not a man. Even though they keep retconning how and why he's not a man. He's not a man anymore. So he rips his hand through the knife that's holding his hand down, starts to strangle her. But then Allison comes back for some reason. Why? Who knows? Because everything in this movie is forced coincidences. She comes back in, breaks his arm, which for some reason seems to affect him more than the knives and the fridge. Breaks his arm, and then Laurie, like, slits his wrist open, which, again, you know, very casual about this kind of stuff that we should not be this casual about in this day and age in movies that are specifically targeted at teenagers. So then we cut, right, to some amount of time later when the cops finally show up after this huge thing and this, you know, she called in this suicide. They finally get there after she called it in, screwed around for a while, had the Corey reveal, fought Corey, beat Corey. Corey killed himself. Allison showed up, fought with Allison. Allison left. Michael showed up, chased Michael all around the room, pinned Michael down, killed Michael. Michael came back to life. Michael tried to kill her. Allison showed back up for some reason. Allison helps kill Michael. Now Michael's finally dead. All of that happened before the cops freaking show up. So the cops show up. And they're like, wow, or maybe it's Laurie, you know, someone's like, he's dead. And Allison, stupid line, goes, not dead enough. Now there's this junkyard in the movie that I mentioned before. It happens to be where Corey worked. It happens to be owned by his uncle. It's where he lured the teenagers, I guess because he knows that environment, right? So he knew that he could kill them there. It's been not prominent, but recurring throughout the movie. And again, because everything in this movie is forced, they decide to take Michael's dead body to this junkyard and throw it in the industrial shredder. You know those things where people, like, drop things into the shredder and see it get completely demolished? Yeah, that's what they do. That's what they decide to do with the body. And it's like, it seems like they want it to feel thematically significant that it's taking place at this junkyard, but, like, that junkyard only had anything to do with Corey, not Michael. Did you confuse the two because you're stupid and you don't know how to write movies? It's so weird. And, like, the whole entire town somehow has found out about this, and there's, like, a funeral procession of cars driving through town at, like, midnight on Halloween to watch Michael's body, although no one actually sees it except for Laurie. Everyone else is just standing down. It's so bizarre and so weird, and it's just like, it's dumb. So we got the junkyard, and then we don't see. I don't know what the last shot of the movie is. Talking about the suicide fake out. Talking about the dumbest frame. Talking about the mask. I don't know if we see anything after that scene. No, that's not true. I don't know what happens with Allison. I think we see her driving out of town, right? And we see, like, the now leaving Haddonfield. And there is a scene where the cop, Officer Hawkins, comes and leaves some stuff on Laurie's doorstep, and it's implied that something's going to happen there. But, like, it's just cut from when we see Michael's body get shredded. So, I don't know what kind of crumb tray those shredders have, but, like, you keep those remains. Because Michael has survived so much at this point and regenerated from so much. You throw him in that machine, fine, but then you box up those remains, put them in a glass case so everyone can see what's what, and you put that thing in the police department so that if anything starts regenerating or anything, the police are going to be the first ones to know. But they just cut and expect the audience to believe that he's dead, even though he hasn't been dead the last 12 movies? This is the 12th one. No, this is the 13th one. This is the 12th one with Michael Myers. So unsatisfying. And then my last main note here is justice for Julian. Julian, if you don't remember, is the little black kid that was babysat in the 2018 movie. And he has just a real quick interview on TV, one line in Halloween Kills, which is on the other side of my room now because I threw it in frustration. And I'm pretty sure I said in my video on this movie, give Julian more to do. That kid's great. He shows up walking dramatically with all the cars driving in to the junkyard at the end of the movie. And that's all he's there for. And it's just again, why are you bringing these actors back if you're not going to do anything with the characters? I would have loved if this movie had been all about Julian. And so I wrote, justice for Julian. Julian deserves to be in a better movie. Julian's the GOAT. Give me more Julian. So, those are my notes on the movie. I'm an hour and 11 minutes into this. But I want to do this. This will certainly not be the final Halloween movie, right? Halloween has not ended. So, if you, for some reason, have watched this whole video, I want your pitch as dumb as you want, because apparently anything goes these days. I want your pitch for the next Halloween movie. Is it going to be a sequel? Is it going to be a continuation of this storyline? Because again, apparently anything goes, even if it doesn't follow any of the ideas or themes or plot lines from previous movies. Is it going to continue in this story? Is it going to erase some old movies and pick up from other movies, like has been done multiple times? At least twice, right? I mean, if you count Season of the Witch, then Halloween 4 did it, and then Halloween H2O did it, and then it was rebooted. Is it going to be a reboot? And then they did it again. So we'll call it 3 times. So is it going to ignore some movies but follow others? Is it going to be a reboot? Is it going to be a standalone thing that could be in the... So, what is your pitch for the next Halloween movie? As crazy as you want to make it, I got 2 ideas. And they're inspired by how stupid the Corey storyline was in this movie. These are 2 ideas that I think, are they going to be good? No. But I think they're more interesting and make for a better, I would think, would make for a better viewing experience than what we got. Option number 1 is you take this idea of the evil transferring, but you just go all out with it, right? So we've had the evil transfer from Michael to Jamie, and now we've had the evil transfer from Michael to Corey. I'm saying go all out and give us something almost like Venom, right? Where the symbiote is just moving from person to person. It moves from the one person to the dog to the little girl to the, whatever. Just have that evil just bumping around so that, then you can really play the mystery, right? Of who's the killer. Make it a whodunit, a Michael Myers whodunit, where his spirit is possessing different people and you don't know who you can trust. And, even if you have murdered somebody, it's just oh, well, I did that, but I'm not the killer anymore. It's gone, right? That can be fun. That could be a really fun thing to do. If you want to make it isolated, right? One house or one building, like a hospital or a school or something, then it can just move from one person to one person. If you want to make it the whole town over, then just have it split and continuously split. And, they're really heavy-handed in Halloween Ends. Kills, and also Halloween Ends, with this idea that the town are the monsters, right? Because they chase that other mental patient down until he jumps out a window and kills himself. Why do these movies, why are they so casual about suicide? That's not something we should still be casual about. That's a serious problem, especially for the target demographic of these movies. But the town murdered that innocent man, and now they're just all hateful on anybody that's had any kind of trauma in their life. So if you want to play into the idea that the town is the problem, then have the evil start spreading, right? But then, like, every time a townsperson, you know, does something evil or you know, acts like a horrible person, then it splits. And then it's like, what is it? Like sardines, right? It's like a game of sardines. And the evil just spreads and spreads and spreads until it consumes the whole town. How did either of those stories end? I don't know. But those are my main two. You could also, I mean, you could do a prequel. Not necessarily a Michael Myers prequel, but like, you know, if this movie, if we're continuing this idea of the evil transferring from one person to another, then you could do a story that's set back in the 70s of whoever had the evil before Michael Myers, and the movie could like end with young, 6-year-old Michael in his clown costume meeting this person while he's out trick-or-treating or whatever, and then going home and killing his sister, right? And it could be almost like a Final Destination thing where the last movie ends where the first movie starts, and then it's all like a circular thing. Again, I'm not saying any of these are good ideas. I just think they're all more interesting than what we got. But let me know your ideas. I won't steal them. I promise. This video is long enough. I kind of wanted it to be as long as Halloween Ends so that I could say, don't go see that, watch this instead. It's not quite that long, but it's pretty long. So if you, for some reason, watch this whole thing, thank you very much. If you want to see my thoughts and perhaps my friend's thoughts on the Jamie Lloyd saga, then you can check out the links to my Patreon down below. It's going to go up there. What am I going to do with the rest of these Halloweens? We got Season of the Witch. We got H2O and Resurrection, which are their own continuation of the storyline. And then we got the reboot. So, like, part of me wants to wait until there's another Halloween movie, because there's definitely going to be another Halloween movie. I just don't know how long it's going to be. I predict, here's my big prediction, that within 1 week of the opening, so I'm filming this on Friday, I saw it last night on Thursday, we'll call it by Friday, the Friday after it came out, my prediction is that some kind of next installment will be announced, right? Because, like, I think the official creators and producers and stuff, you know, they've said this is the last one, Halloween Ends, but I think Jason Bloom, whoever, from Blumhouse/Bloomhouse, I think he's been pretty casual. It's like, of course there's going to be more, but this is just the end of this story, right? So it's like, I don't think anyone's expecting that they're not going to try to milk this for more. So my prediction is that within a week we'll have some kind of announcement, or, you know, even them just saying we're thinking about, you know, some kind of something leading to the next one. But I don't know how long it's going to take. So do I want to wait for those? Do I want to just do them and get them over with? I'm kind of thinking, if there's no definitive information about a next installment, then I'll probably do the H2O and Resurrection movies just next Halloween, right? And then it'll be 3 years in a row where I've done Halloween. And then wait another year. And if at any point in the next 2 years there is an official announcement and it's not that far off, maybe I'll save them. If there are no announcements, then I'll just do 2 on the next Halloween and 2 on the following Halloween. That's my plan. Don't hold me to it, because I change my mind all the time. But I'm finally going to stop this video. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good day and a happy Halloween. What'd you think of this movie? I didn't like it.